The State versus Adrian, Norman McKenzie, and others. This is a case of the precious stone Sugilite Heist of 15 million rands. This is happening in Johannesburg Regional Court, case number 41, stroke 414, stroke 2026. Accused number 1 is Adrian Norman McKenzie. Accused number 2 is Etienne van der Walt. Apparently, he has been withdrawn from this case. We're going to go into that later. Accused number 3 is Kersha Lee Stolz. Additional accused are expected to be added. The breaking news right now is that this car over here is busy all over Gauteng collecting people into this case. The significance of the withdrawal. Etienne van der Walt was not withdrawn because the court found him innocent. He has been withdrawn because the DPP, after considering representations made on his behalf by his lawyer, decided not to proceed with the prosecution against him. The reasons for that decision has not been disclosed publicly. Etienne van der Walt, accused number 2, is the only participant who appears in every presently disclosed narrative of the operation from the beginning to the end. That is a fact. There is presently no disclosed version of events in which he does not possess direct knowledge of what happened to the Sugilite gemstones after they left the complainant's residence in Killarney. That makes his withdrawal from the prosecution highly significant. There's only one possibility, is that he is cooperating with the investigators. Notice that nobody said he is now a state witness. That was not said. Prosecutors would ordinarily be extremely careful about publicly disclosing such information during a bail proceedings. The withdrawal may therefore mean 1. The prosecution no longer presently intends prosecuting him. 2. He is cooperating with investigators. 3. His position is strategically different from that of the remaining accused. At present, we simply don't know. We need to wait. The charges, all of the charges, so far they only said 2, and I assume and I think that they will add more charges to this case as the case progresses. Count 1 is in Schedule 6, robbery with aggravating circumstances. The aggravating feature identified in court was that firearms wielded and threats of bodily harm were involved in this heist. Because this is a Schedule 6 offense, McKenzie and Stolz, accused number 1 and 3, were required to establish exceptional circumstances justifying their release on bail. And yes, count number 2, fraud. The precise particulars of the fraud charge were not read in the bail record. But what we already know, this case has been talked about in the Madanga Commission. It involves a 14.9 million rand heist. The state story is that this was a planned robbery disguised as a lawful police operation. Witness K, who testified at the Madanga Commission, found the gemstones and arranged a buyer. Julius Mkwananzi supplied the officers, who are McKenzie and Stolz, now the accused number 1 and 3, who supplied the uniforms, who were actually in uniform and apparently in police authority. Van der Walt accompanied them armed, and he was a civilian participant, but for some reason, he has been withdrawn from this case. The group removed 6 boxes of gemstones. Van der Walt negotiated their sale. Witness K, in his testimony, we don't know if it's true or false, she says she received 110,000 rands. A false police narrative and documentation were allegedly used to legitimize this heist. The defense story, on the other hand, this was a genuine police seizure that was subsequently mishandled by Witness K. Kwananzi gave lawful instructions. Witness K presented herself as the JPMD officer because these gemstones were being retrieved from her jurisdiction. The gemstones were unlawfully possessed. McKenzie and Stolz made an SAPS 13 occurrence book entry. They attended openly in uniform. They intended booking the gemstones into the SAPS custody. Kwananzi redirected them. They handed the gemstone to Witness K because she claimed jurisdiction over them. They neither stole nor sold the gemstones. The unresolved chain of custody. The central question in this case is remarkably simple. Who left the 6 boxes? The defense chain says the 6 bosses left the Kilani apartment with Kersha Lee Stolz and McKenzie and Vandervoort. And then they all went to a Nando's that was close by, where at that Nando's, McKenzie and Stolz placed all the 6 boxes in Witness K's vehicle. Witness K left the Nando's with the gemstones. On the other hand, Witness K at the Madlanga Convention said when the gemstones left the apartment in Kilani with Mackenzie, Stolz, and Vandervoort, they were in a meeting with an informer or buyer. Vandervoort evaluates and negotiates the gemstones. The buyer takes possession of the gemstones, and the payment followed. Both Adrian Norman McKenzie and Kersha Lee Stolz, accused number 1 and 3, were granted bail of 5,000 rands each. The magistrate found that they both voluntarily handed themselves over to the police, so you only had to call them and they came. Neither was considered a flight risk. Neither was likely to interfere with the investigation. Both had fixed addresses and employment, and none of the Section 60.4A to E factors justified their continued detention. So the bail conditions are that they will not interfere with state witnesses. They had to hand over their passports. They are reporting every Monday between 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Norman McKenzie will report to Nigel SAPS. Kersha Lee Stolz will report to Merton SAPS. The critical question, regardless of whose version it ultimately accepted by the court, one fact presently remains constant. The gemstones did not simply disappear. Someone knows who planned the operation, who removed the gemstones, who left with them, who met the buyer, who received the payment, and where the gemstones ultimately went. The robbery is not the mystery. It's the disappearance that is the mystery. Please share this content in your profile and follow me, because this is only the beginning of this case. There's more accused persons that are going to be added. Right now, we have the next court date as 25 August 2026.